Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Constantine and today we're gonna solve move zeros problem. It's considered as an easy problem, but we see that it's got a lot of likes, so this problem must be somehow important. So let's go through the problem. Given an integer array nums, which will contain 0 and other positive integers, we need to move all these zeros to the end of the array. And note that we must do this in place without making a copy of the array. So if they would allow us to make a copy of the array, it would be very simple, right? Almost too simple. If it's too simple, sometimes it's too good to be true. So let's see how we would do that in place. So let's get to our whiteboard. So this is technically our array, right? And we want to get to this point. So every zero, we want to put it at the end of the array right here. So how are we going to do that? Once you see it, you're going to think like, oh, this is so easy once you've seen it. So think about this. We'll loop through the main array, right? We need to find out if an element is 0 or not. So let's think about that. Why don't we just loop through the main array? So right now we're right here, and look at this number. Is this number a 0 or is non-zero? So we have two choices here, 0 or not 0, right? So if it's a not 0, then do we have to do anything? No, right? Just because if we're looking at a result, if it's non-zero, our number is going to be there as well. Now let's go again to the next element. And now we're going to see this number as a 0. So what can we do now? Do we have to do something? Yes, we need to move this number to the end of the array. But how are we going to do that? So my strategy here is just, if this number is a 0, ignore it. Move forward. Because we know that we need to have non-zeros at the beginning. So if this is a 0, just ignore it. Move to the next one. Now, is this a 0? Now, this is not a 0. So we know that this one needs to be shifted to the left, right? And we could have an index. We'll have an index which initially starts at 0, right? So if our element, while we're looping through this array, if our element at index 0, at index I, is not equal to 0, then we're going to have our array of index plus plus equal to that element, to the element. So we could see right here, the first thing, our 3 right here is not equal to 0. So an array of 0 is going to be 3. And then we're moving to the next element. It's equal to 0. We're ignoring it. Then we're moving again, and we have 5. And this is again not equal to 0. So now our index here was moved to 1. So right now our index is going to be 1. So the next element will be equal to 5. Then we're moving to the next element. Here, 0, we ignore this one as well. And now our index here became 2, and this is our element. So we're going to put 2 here, 1 here as well, and then 2. And then we're stopping, right? Because we traversed all the array. So then all we have to do is just have another for loop from this element, which is index basically, from 2 to the end of the array, and just populate it with zeros. So this is, it's a little tricky, but this is how you solve this problem. So let's jump into LeetCode. Let's solve it super quick, and let's add one more problem to our list of solved problems. So we said we're gonna have a loop, right? First, we're gonna have an index, index equal to 0, and then we're gonna have a loop for int I equal to 0, I less than nums.length, I plus plus. So right here, we're just gonna check if our nums of I, we want to see if it's 0 or not. So we're checking if it's not equal to 0, we know that we could put it into our array. So we're gonna have nums of index plus plus equal to nums of I. And after we've done this, we could have another for loop right here. Now we're filling the rest of the array. So for int I equal index I less than nums length I plus plus nums of I equal to 0. So why we started from this index right now is just because, for example, in this case, we have 4 elements, right? We have 4 elements. So our index is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So our index made it to 3. So we don't have to start from the beginning because we already have 4 elements that are not 0. So from those 4 elements until the end of the array, if there's anything right here, then we're gonna fill with zeros. So I think that's pretty much it for this problem. You could even minimize the total number of operations, but that's a follow-up. But I think technically if you're doing this, you should be pretty good, in a pretty good shape for an interview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.